As I mentioned in a previous video, the steady decline of the kingdom of Gondor caused by civil war, the Great Plague, and the re-emergence of Sauron, the Dark Lord, led to renewed attacks by nomadic Southrons and other eastern invaders. Eventually, many of the savage tribes from the east united into one confederacy. They were now stronger and better armed, and rode into battle on horseback or in chariots. In Gondor, these Easterlings were derisively called the Wain Riders. Stirred up, as was afterwards seen, by the emissaries of Sauron, they made a sudden assault upon Gondor, and King Narmakil II was slain in battle with them beyond Anduin in the year 1856 of the Third Age. That was the Battle of the Plains, where the Dunedain, although aided by their allies in Rhovanion, suffered a grievous defeat. The Easterlings now had a clear path into the western lands. Soon, the Wain Riders began to occupy Rhovanion, and either put its peoples to the sword or enslaved them. Seeking to escape the eastern invaders, many men left their homes and fled north towards the city of Dale, or headed south towards the kingdom of Gondor. One such group of refugees, led by Marwini, settled in the Anduin Vales on the western side of the great river, and became known as the Éothéod, the ancestors of the Rohirrim, skilled Northmen horse masters with a profound reverence for the Vala Orome, or Bema as they called him. The attack by Sauron's servants did not only advance his strategy of weakening the kingdoms of men, but it also distracted from preparations for his return. At this time it is thought that the Ringwraiths re-entered Mordor. Many years later, Marwini, now lord of the Éothéod, learned that the Easterlings were plotting an incursion into the Gondorian province of Calenardhon, and warned the king, Kalimechtar. The enslaved Northmen in Rhovanion were also preparing a revolt against their eastern oppressors. Assembling an army, Kalimechtar marched northwards from Ithilien, making sure that his enemies caught word of this. Marshalling all their strength, the Easterlings hastened southwards to meet the king in battle, but the king instead gave way before them and goaded them to the plain of Dagorlad, forcing them to leave their conquered lands unchecked and their rear exposed. As the skirmish unfolded, the Wain Riders found themselves attacked from the north by Kalimechtar's cavalry and Marwini's horsemen. Caught between two pincers, the eastern invaders turned to flee northwards, and the Éothéod taunted them thus:
"Fly east, not north, folk of Sauron! See the homes you stole are in flames!"
Roused by Marwini, the slaves in Rhovanion had risen up and set fire to the dwellings and wagons of the Wain Riders. Defeated, the Easterlings crawled back to their lands to lick their wounds. For a long time they did not trouble the west, being at strife with their Southron neighbors instead. Before long, however, the witch realm of Angmar renewed hostilities against the northern kingdom of Arthedain, and the Wain Riders also reappeared. These Easterlings began making raids into the lands of the Éothéod, and were now joined by Varyags from Khand, who were hiring themselves out as mercenaries, and by Haradrim. It was only later deduced that Sauron had arranged for peace and alliance between the enemies of Gondor. Forthwini, son of Marwini, sent word to Kalimechtar's heir, Ondoher, of these incursions. These attacks by the Easterlings and Southrons were but a prelude of war. Gondor was almost destroyed in the ensuing assault. Ondoher and both his sons, Artamir and Faramir, fell in battle. Believing the kingdom to be overthrown and victory at hand, the Easterlings and their allies made camp and quickly turned to feasting. But on the eve of celebration, the Dunedain, led by Earnir, Ondoher's kinsman, came down upon the Wain Riders like hammer upon the anvil. The eastern invaders were driven back into their lands in ruin, or into the dead marshes where they perished. as Arvedui, the last king of Arthedain, desperately fought against the witch king of Angmar, Eärnil, now king of Gondor, marshaled for his aid all the men he could spare and called upon his Éothéod allies. He then gave the command to his son Eärnur and sent the fleet to the Grey Havens. But by the time the fleet arrived, Arvedui had perished and Arthedain had fallen to the witch king of Angmar. The Free Peoples decided then that the time had finally come to oust this servant of the Dark Lord. The host of the West was assembled. Elves there were from Lindon, led by Círdan the shipwright, and others from Rivendell, led by Glorfindel. Proud princes from Rhovanion, with the Éothéod from the Anduin vales riding behind them, and the Dunedain of Gondor under the command of Eärnil's son, Eärnur. Following the defeat of the Witch King of Angmar, the Éothéod, led by their chieftain Hrumgar, migrated northwards in the Anduin vales near its source, where they built the town of Framsburg, named after Hrumgar's son, Fram. They also drove out the folk of Angmar that remained on the eastern side of the Misty Mountains. For some time, however, the Éothéod were troubled by a great dragon from the Grey Mountains, known as Scatha the Worm. In his lair, the beast had amassed a hoard of jewels, gems, and precious heirlooms, as well as many morbid trophies, hands of dwarves and skulls of men. The dragon's reign of terror came to an end when Scatha was slain by Fram, son of Hrumgar. The dragon's treasure hoard then became the subject of a dispute between the Éothéod and the dwarves, who claimed it rightfully belonged to them. Fram would not yield them a penny, and sent to them instead the teeth of Scatha made into a necklace, saying, "Jewels such as these you will not match in your treasuries, for they are hard to come by." Some say that the dwarves were so offended by this that they slew Fram. Whatever the case, there was little love between them and the Éothéod in the days that followed. The Éothéod would not remain in the Anduin vales for long, as the Battle of the Field of Celebrant would see them ride south to the aid of their old Gondorian allies against Easterlings under Sauron's control, kinsmen of the very same Wain Riders they had fought together against so many years ago. That's it for today, and as always, thank you for watching.